The marketplace was alive with colors, voices, and strange alien scents. Among the crowd, a human walked quietly, trying not to draw attention. But one pair of ancient eyes noticed something others did not. An elderly alien woman froze when she saw the small silver ring on his finger. Her chest tightened, and her breath caught. That ring, it should not exist here. Slowly, she stepped forward, her voice shaking as she asked, "Human, where did you get that ring?" The man looked down at his hand, then at her. His expression changed, as if he carried a heavy secret. The air around them grew still. Even the marketplace seemed to fall silent, waiting for his answer. And then, with a calm but haunting voice, he said, "This ring is not from Earth." The sun was setting over the alien city, painting the sky with colors of gold and purple. The market square was alive with sounds, merchants calling, children laughing, and the soft music of wind chimes made from crystal stones. Among the crowd walked a human, moving slowly, as if he was not used to the place. His steps were careful, his eyes searching, and his clothes looked simple compared to the bright robes of the aliens around him. Most of the people noticed him, but did not pay much attention. Humans were rare here, but not completely unknown. Yet one pair of eyes did not look away. An old alien woman, her back bent with age and her silver hair shining under the fading sun, froze when her gaze fell on the man's hand. Her eyes widened, and her heart began to race. On his finger was a small silver ring, plain at first glance, but holding a strange glow whenever the light touched it. She had seen that ring before, long ago, in a story passed down through her family. In the memory of a promise that was never kept, the woman gripped her walking staff tightly, her hands trembling. She could not believe what she was seeing, and yet the ring was there, shining in the same way she remembered. Slowly, she moved through the crowd, each step filled with both fear and hope. Her people noticed her leaving her usual place but said nothing. She was respected, even honored, as one of the eldest in the city. The human stopped near a stall filled with fruits that glowed faintly in the dim light. He lifted one with curiosity, but before he could speak, he heard a weak but steady voice behind him. "Human," the old woman said, her voice almost breaking. "Where did you get that ring?" The man turned, surprised. His eyes met hers, and for a moment, neither of them spoke. The market seemed to quiet around them. The usual noise faded, and it felt as if even the air was waiting for his reply. He looked down at his hand, at the silver ring, and then back at her. His expression changed. His face grew thoughtful, as if her question touched something deep inside him. He did not answer right away. Instead, he studied her with calm eyes, seeing the pain and the hope hidden in her wrinkled face. The woman took another step closer. Her hands were shaking now, and tears had started to gather in her eyes. "Please," she whispered, "tell me, how did that ring come to you?" The man finally spoke, his voice quiet but strong. "This ring is not from Earth." The words seemed to strike her like a wave. She covered her mouth with her hand, her chest rising and falling quickly. Around them, several aliens stopped what they were doing, watching with growing interest. A human with a ring that did not belong to his world was not something they had seen before. The old woman tried to steady her voice. "Do you know what that ring means?" she asked. The man lowered his eyes for a moment, as if remembering something painful. "I know only that it came to me when I should not have survived. It found me, not the other way around." Her breath caught again. These were not random words. They carried a weight, almost like a piece of destiny falling into place. The crowd leaned closer, whispering softly among themselves. The woman reached out her hand, slowly, afraid he might pull away. But he did not. Her fingers touched the silver ring, and in that moment, a small light flickered inside it. It was faint, but it was real. She gasped and pulled her hand back, tears spilling down her face. "This ring," she whispered, her voice breaking. "It belonged to someone my people once loved, a leader, a protector, who vanished long before your world was even known to us. He promised to return when the stars called for him again." The man said nothing. His face was calm, but his eyes told a different story. There was something he was not saying, something he was holding back. The old woman's tears fell freely now. She could not stop them. She had waited her entire life to see this sign, to touch it with her own hands. And here it was, worn by a human who did not belong to her world. The silence around them grew heavy. No one dared to interrupt. Every alien nearby could feel that something important was happening, something that might change everything they thought they knew. The man finally looked at her again, his voice low, almost like a confession. "You ask me where I got this ring, but maybe the real question is, why did it choose me?" The old woman closed her eyes, and a tear rolled down her wrinkled cheek. She did not have an answer, not yet, but deep inside, she felt that the moment she had feared and hoped for all her life had finally arrived. The marketplace, once noisy and full of laughter, now stood in silence, watching the human and the alien elder. The ring on his finger glowed faintly once more, as if it too was listening, waiting for what would come next. And in that glow, the old woman saw not just a piece of metal, but the return of a story thought lost forever. The air in the market stayed strangely still after the human spoke. The old alien woman's heart pounded as she stared at the ring, and her hands would not stop trembling. Around them, people had gathered, not daring to speak, only watching. They felt they were witnessing something rare, something they would remember for the rest of their lives. The man shifted slightly, uncomfortable with all the eyes on him. He had not planned for this. He only wanted to pass through quietly. But the moment her gaze fell on his hand, the silence of the marketplace swallowed him. He looked at the old woman, and for a brief second, he thought he saw both hope and sorrow in her eyes. She leaned forward, gripping her walking staff tighter. Her voice shook, but her words carried strength. "Human, do you know what you wear? Do you understand the weight of that ring?" The man hesitated, his eyes lowered to the silver band again. It looked ordinary to most, but to him it was not. Memories flickered in his mind, memories he wished to keep buried. He opened his mouth, then closed it again, as if searching for words that would not betray too much. Finally, he said softly, "I understand only that this ring did not begin with me." The old woman's chest tightened at those words. She stepped closer, her eyes fixed on him. "Then tell me, how did it come to you?" The man drew a slow breath, his gaze distant. He spoke carefully, as if every word was heavy. "It came to me when I was at the edge of everything, when the world around me was fading, and I thought my story was over. I woke to find it on my hand, as though it had chosen me in that moment." Gasps spread through the watching crowd. The aliens whispered among themselves, their voices hushed, their faces pale with disbelief. The old woman raised a trembling hand to her lips. She had heard these words before, not from him, but from the stories of her people. Long ago, their greatest protector had spoken of a ring that would choose its bearer in a time of despair. She never believed she would live to see the day those words would echo again. Her eyes filled with tears as she whispered, "You speak of a promise older than your world. You speak of something my people thought lost forever." The man's expression did not change, but there was a shadow in his eyes, a hidden truth he carried silently. He looked at the crowd, then back to the old woman. "And what if I told you I never asked for it? What if I told you I do not even know why it chose me?" Her hands trembled harder. She could feel the crowd drawing closer, pressing in, but not daring to interrupt. Everyone wanted to hear, to see what would happen next. The old woman swallowed, her voice low, almost breaking. "Because it belonged to him, to the one we called the light bearer. He was my ancestor. He was the heart of our people." The man tilted his head, studying her with quiet eyes. The marketplace had grown so silent that even the faint wind through the crystal chimes seemed loud. He did not answer right away. Instead, he lifted his hand slightly, letting the last rays of sunlight strike the silver band. For the briefest moment, the ring shimmered with a glow that was not of the sun. The old woman gasped and pressed a hand to her chest. The glow was unmistakable. She had seen it once before, when she was a child, in the sacred stories told by her grandmother. The same light, the same sign. The man's voice was steady now, but soft. "If this belonged to one of your people, then tell me, why does it sit on my hand now, across the stars, far from the world it was born in?" Her tears slipped down her cheeks. She could not answer him. She wanted to, but she could not. Every word he spoke pulled her deeper into the memories of her people, into the promises that had been broken, and the hope that had faded. The crowd held its breath, waiting for her reply. But none came. Instead, the old woman fell to her knees, her head bowed, her shoulders shaking with silent sobs. To her, this was no ordinary meeting. It was the return of a truth too great to ignore. The man bent slightly, unsure whether to reach for her or step back. He chose stillness. He let her cry, though he did not fully understand her tears. Inside, however, he knew one thing with certainty. The ring had not come to him by chance, and as the marketplace watched in silence, every soul felt that the moment was not the end of something but the beginning of a story. Much larger than all of them, the night had settled over the city, and the stars shone brightly above, yet the marketplace was still filled with a strange silence. The old woman sat quietly, her hands resting on her knees, her eyes still wet with tears. The human stood before her, the silver ring glowing faintly in the moonlight. Around them, the crowd did not move away. No one wanted to leave, as if they all felt they were part of something larger than themselves. The human shifted uneasily, the weight of their stares pressing down on him. He was not used to being the center of attention. The ring had always felt like a burden, but now it seemed to carry even more weight. He looked down at it, remembering again the day it appeared on his hand. His voice broke the silence, quiet but firm. "You want to know how this came to me? I will tell you." The people leaned closer. Even the children stopped fidgeting and listened, their wide eyes fixed on the man. The old woman raised her head slowly, her face full of longing. The human's eyes grew distant, as if he was no longer standing in the marketplace, but somewhere far away. "It happened when I was alone," he said softly. "I was lost, with nothing left to guide me. I thought it was the end. I remember the air was cold, and everything around me was fading. Then I heard a voice. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. The old woman's hands clenched tightly. It was not the voice of a human," the man continued. "It was soft, almost like it came from the stars themselves. It said, 'You are not finished. Take this and carry on.'" The crowd gasped quietly. The old woman pressed a hand to her chest. She knew that voice. She had never heard it with her ears, but she had carried it in her heart through the old songs and stories passed down through her family. It was the voice of her ancestor, the light-bearer. The man lifted his hand slowly, showing the ring to all. "When I opened my eyes, it was on my finger. I had not found it. It had found me." The ring shimmered faintly, as if it were alive, as if it had heard his words and wanted to confirm them. The people whispered among themselves, their voices filled with awe and fear. The old woman's tears flowed again. She whispered, "Yes, yes, it is him. The promise. The ring that chooses." The human frowned slightly, his eyes steady on her. "You speak as though you know this ring. Tell me, what is it? What is the truth of it?" The old woman's body trembled as she tried to speak. For a long moment, she could not find her words. Finally, her voice returned, soft but clear. "This ring was not made for beauty. It was not made for wealth. It carries the memory of one who gave everything for us. He was more than a leader, he was the heart of our world. He swore that when the time of shadows returned, so would his light. He said the ring would choose the one who could carry his hope." The man's eyes darkened with thought. "But why me? I am not from your world. I am no leader. I am just a man who is trying to survive." The old woman reached out again, her trembling fingers brushing the ring. As her skin touched the silver, a soft glow pulsed, warm and alive. She gasped, pulling her hand back, but her eyes widened in wonder. "Because it is not you who chose the ring. It is the ring that chose you. It saw something in you, something even you do not see." The human felt a chill, though the night was warm. He looked at the glowing band, the light reflecting in his eyes. He remembered the moment of despair, the voice that saved him, and he wondered if there truly was something inside him he did not yet understand. The crowd began to murmur louder now. Some bowed their heads in respect. Others stared at him with fear, not sure if this was a blessing or a warning. The old woman wiped her tears and spoke again, her voice trembling, but full of certainty. "You carry the last promise of my people, and if that promise has chosen you, human, then perhaps you are not here by accident. Perhaps you are here because destiny brought you." The man said nothing. His face was calm, but inside his thoughts were heavy. He had never asked for destiny. He had never asked to be chosen. Yet the glow of the ring seemed to beat like a quiet heart, reminding him that his story was no longer only his own. The old woman's tears shone under the starlight. She whispered, almost to herself, after so many lifetimes, after so many lost years, the ring has returned. And it returned with a human. The crowd held its breath again, waiting as the ring glowed brighter, pulsing like a signal in the night, as if it too knew that a new chapter was beginning. The night air was cool, and a hush lingered over the market long after the man had spoken. The glow of the silver ring had dimmed, yet the memory of its light remained in every heart present. No one moved away, though hours had passed since the sun had fallen. The human stood quietly, his eyes lowered, as though he carried a weight too great for words. The old woman, still leaning on her staff, did not look away from him. Her tears had dried, but her gaze held a strength born from both pain and hope. Finally, she spoke, her voice fragile but steady. Listen to me, human. That ring is not only a relic, it is a bond between my people and the one who promised he would never leave us. She paused, her breath catching, then continued. The one who wore that ring was more than a leader. He was family. He was my ancestor. His name is spoken only in reverence, for he was the light of our world when darkness covered us. The human lifted his eyes, searching her face. If he was your ancestor, then why does his ring rest on me? I am not of your people. I am not even from your stars. The old woman's hand trembled as she lifted it slowly toward him, not to take the ring, but to gesture softly to the sky above. The stars glittered like scattered fire, endless and eternal. Because the stars do not belong to one people alone. They belong to all who carry the courage to face them. Perhaps the ring saw what I see now. The man tilted his head slightly, curiosity in his eyes. And what do you see? She smiled faintly, though it was touched with sadness. I see someone who does not run from burden, even when it weighs him down. Someone who walks into places where others would not, and yet still stands. You may not believe yourself worthy, human, but the ring believes otherwise. And that is enough. Her words sank deep into the silence. The crowd, still gathered around, bowed their heads as if they too felt the truth of what she spoke. Whispers spread softly among them, that the human was chosen, that destiny had placed him here. The man's chest rose and fell slowly as he struggled to understand. If the ring carries such meaning, he said carefully, then it must also carry responsibility. What does it expect of me? What do your people expect of me? The old woman's eyes glistened again, though no tears fell. My people have waited countless generations. They believed the ring would return to guide us in our hardest time. For so long, we thought it lost forever. And now, you stand here with it. She drew in a long, shuddering breath. Some will see you as the bridge between our world and others. Some will see you as hope itself, and some may see you as a threat. The man's expression grew heavier at her last words. He did not answer right away. He looked again at the ring, its faint shimmer like a quiet star on his hand. Finally, he said softly, I never asked for this. But perhaps I was never meant to ask. Perhaps I was meant to listen. The old woman took one step closer. Her voice dropped lower, meant only for him, though the crowd still listened. You hold the last memory of my ancestor. His promise lives in you now. And if you choose to carry it, you will not only change my people, you will change yourself. The ring pulsed again, a faint glow like the beating of a heart. The crowd gasped, some placing their hands over their chests, others whispering prayers. The old woman smiled through her trembling lips. Do you see? It responds to you. It accepts you. It has never shown for anyone else since the day he vanished. The man's throat tightened. He had no words left. He only felt the warmth of the silver band pressing against his skin. A warmth that did not come from him, but from something greater. The old woman lifted her face to the stars, her voice rising just enough for all to hear. This human does not come by chance. He carries the light of the past and the promise of tomorrow. He is the bridge between worlds. The crowd fell to their knees, not out of worship, but out of respect. Even the children, though they did not understand everything, copied their elders and bowed. The man looked around, bewildered by the sight, yet unable to deny the weight pressing on him. And as the silver ring glowed once more, brighter this time, he felt something stir within him, an unspoken bond. A connection not only to the woman before him, but to her entire world. The next evening, he returned to the quiet meadow where he had first met her. The soft light of the setting sun spread across the grass, and he found her sitting on the same rock, her hands folded together, her eyes filled with thought. She looked up as he approached, and this time, her smile was gentle but also heavy with something unsaid. He sat down near her, careful not to disturb her calm, and waited. After a moment, she spoke. Her voice was softer than before, almost trembling. She told him that the ring was not just a simple piece of jewelry. It was a sign, a connection to her past, and something she thought she had lost forever. Her eyes glistened with emotion as she explained how the same ring had once been worn by someone she loved deeply, someone who had been part of her long life. She had never expected to see it again, let alone on the hand of a human. He listened carefully, not interrupting, letting her words flow slowly like a stream. When she paused, he finally asked her why it mattered so much, why this ring held such power over her. She looked at him, and for the first time, she seemed almost fragile, like a memory brought to life. She said that the ring was once a promise, a bond that tied two very different worlds together. The human felt a strange pull in his chest, as if her story was more than just her own, it was also his. He wanted to understand, but at the same time, he sensed that she was only telling him a small piece of the truth. He leaned closer and asked what really happened to the one who gave her the ring. Her hands tightened, and she lowered her gaze. The silence stretched, filled only by the sound of the wind moving through the grass. Finally, she whispered that the story was too long and too heavy to be shared in a single moment. But she promised him that if he came back again, she would tell him everything: the love, the loss, and the reason why. Seeing the ring again made her believe in something she thought was gone forever. As the stars began to appear above, he felt the weight of her words settle deep inside him. Something about her story, though still hidden, touched him in ways he could not explain. He knew he could not walk away. He promised her that he would return, no matter what, and he wanted to hear everything she had kept locked inside. The old alien woman's eyes softened, and though her face carried the lines of time, in that moment she looked almost young again. She reached out, placing her hand lightly over his, and told him that some truths could change not only a person, but also the path of entire worlds. When he left that night, the air around him felt different. The ring on his finger no longer felt like an ordinary object, it felt alive, heavy with stories waiting to be told. And in his heart, he knew that the next time they met, he would be pulled into something far greater than he had ever imagined. The next time he returned, the night sky was wide and full of stars, brighter than ever. The meadow seemed quieter than usual, as if it too was waiting for the old woman's final story. She was already there, standing instead of sitting, her posture straighter than he had seen before. The starlight touched her silver hair, making her look almost otherworldly. When he came closer, she turned to him with a calm yet serious expression. She said it was time to tell him everything. Her voice was steady, but her eyes carried the weight of many years. She told him that long ago, she had been part of a meeting between her people and humans. Back when the stars were first shared, the ring, she revealed, was not only a gift of love, but also a symbol of hope between two very different lives. It was a bond, proof that unity could exist even when everything else said it was impossible. She paused, her gaze far away, as if she were seeing the past in front of her. The one who gave her the ring, she said, was not just someone she loved, but someone who had believed that peace could last forever. But time, distance, and fear had broken that dream, and she had carried the silence in her heart ever since. When she saw the human wearing the same ring, she felt as if the past had returned to her, reminding her that the dream was not truly gone. He listened quietly, every word sinking deeper than he expected. He finally asked her why fate had brought the ring back to him, after so many years and so many forgotten stories. She looked at him with tears in her eyes and said that sometimes life chooses messengers, people who carry not only objects but also meaning. He was one of them, and his answer to her question, the first time they met, had unlocked something she thought lost forever. Her voice trembled as she added that she no longer had many days left. She was old, her time was near, but seeing the ring again had given her peace. It had reminded her that love, even when hidden under years of silence, never truly vanishes. The human's presence, his kindness, and his willingness to listen had brought her more comfort than she could explain. He felt his own heart tighten, not with sorrow, but with something deeper, and understanding that he was now part of her story, just as she had become part of his. He promised her that he would carry the ring forward, not as a weight, but as a reminder of what truly matters: connection, kindness, and the courage to believe even when the world tries to silence hope. She smiled at him, the softest smile he had seen, and in her eyes, there was no sadness anymore, only peace. She told him that the ring was never truly hers nor his. It belonged to the bond it carried, and now it was safe in his hands. The stars above seemed to shimmer brighter as she gently closed her eyes for a moment, breathing in the night air as if it was the last piece of her long journey. When she looked at him again, her face glowed with gratitude. She whispered that she was no longer afraid, because she knew her story would live on through him. As he walked back under the night sky, the ring felt warmer on his finger. It was no longer just a circle of metal, it was a living memory, a bridge between worlds, a promise that love and truth could outlast even time itself. And though she remained behind in the meadow, he carried her story with him, knowing it would guide him for the rest of his life.